Every week it's the same with me. I have a bunch of things I want to talk about, and then I get distracted. Sometimes I set out to talk about the things that I want to, and quickly get sucked into many other rabbit holes. And that's if I can even begin a video. It seems like everything wants to distract you, and it happens to all of us. I really think this existence is some kind of sick test. It might not be that sick. I think we'll understand one day. I've always imagined, ever since I was a child, that people are watching us. And not in a necessarily bad way. Like this is some kind of experience. And we chose to come here. And people are rooting for us. Like some game. The greatest experience that could be. But we get lost in this experience. And bad people reshape our thoughts and ideas of what's really going on here. Like I said, I probably won't get to all the things that I wanted to share today. I barely sat down to make this video. I mean, it almost didn't happen. Tomorrow is my birthday, and all I want to do is go on a road trip, just get away. And if you do what other people want you to do, you'll feel upset. And if you do what you want to do, others will be upset. So either way somebody's upset. It may as well be other people. Well, let's get on with the video. Thanks for being here. I love you all, and welcome. So, my foot is already in the rabbit hole, and it's not where I intended to go. These are some ruins that were recently found, partially buried, in Colorado in 2019, so just a couple of years ago. And they tell us during preliminary construction on a proposed highway, so here another way that they destroy the old world. In Durango, Colorado, workers uncovered remarkably well-preserved archaeological ruins, most likely dating back to the Pueblo period blah blah blah. And I don't mean to disrespect the Pueblo and Anasazi, but these may be a fictitious people. There are no Pueblo or Anasazi remaining today. And yet these remarkably well-preserved ruins, and just look at this picture. A lot of people say this is stupid and primitive, but this is anything but stupid and primitive. This wall is perfect corners. This looks like it could have been a tower. And they would tell us that this is a primitive mud mortared building, but this is what it looks like after a reset. And it's out here in the middle of nowhere. There's no rocks out here. This was built before everything was covered in a flood and cooked by heat, and what remains is in impeccable condition. Facade over this and you have a perfect building. And though these are not brick, it's just as impressive as brick ruins. Again, there's nothing like this laying around for miles. And anyway, here's what's going on. The Durango Herald reported that the excavation uncovered structures, human bones, and artifacts, including some that could be traced to the Baja region. So again, the same people. And if we go to the Baja region, we end up with tales of giants, and even an island in the Baja Gulf that I believe to this day still says something giants. So here we go. We have bones, artifacts, who knows what. That's not going to be part of this article. It is well known that the Puebloans had extensive trade routes across the southwest and Mexico. So even the mainstream telling us that the so-called ancients had a little Silk Road going on here in America. But of course painting them as primitive, telling us they were trading parrot feathers and seashells, just portraying them as stupid. And here, sadly, the fate of this site is that the highway project is moving forward. Archaeologists are faced with excavating quickly to document and extract anything that they can before the construction gets underway. So they don't give a shit, they're just about to pave over this one way or another. How does this even happen in this day and age? Well, we know. We completely know. But how do the masses accept this? Just gonna pave a damn highway over the bones and artifacts? Archaeologists are faced with quickly excavating? I don't know. I at least used to think that they acted like they cared, at least on the surface, about ruins, artifacts, and the likes. This brings up a common problem faced in the Southwest and other regions around the United States and the world of what can be done when modern work uncovers ancient treasures. In a place like the American Southwest, where ruins are so common, it's unfeasible to halt every construction project to accommodate ancient sites. So here we go, the truth. Probably the only things we know about are the ones where people cried out to preserve the past. Many scientists and activists urge governments to better protect cultural heritage sites. That's what they tell us, and it just doesn't happen. In a related case nearby, when the Glen Canyon Dam was built across the Colorado River, forming Lake Powell and creating electricity to power most of Arizona, huge swaths of ancestral Puebloan sites were lost beneath the rising waters. And we've discussed this in these videos, how they just bury history. All dams seem to be strategically placed on ancient sites. Of course, if you can't flood the area, you make a golf course. And if there's enough usable materials, they put in a quarry and just start breaking it up, shipping it out. And we had the same thing with Lake Powell. Archaeologists and volunteers were on a frantic search to document as much as they could before they eventually flooded the site. And here really just acting like history is just pesky. Here in the case of Durango, archaeologists only have a few months before progress must begin on the $100 million highway project. Unbelievable. And here I just wanted to drive to Colorado and check out some ruins. And I'm suspicious of even ruins like this. I think this would have been something more advanced and has been broken up and made to look primitive. They always put their little wooden ladders leaning, which even as a youth I was suspicious of. This today, before I started recording, suddenly reminded me of the old Niagara Falls power plant. I made a video on that a couple of years ago now, I think. I titled it Tesla Was a Fake or something like that. And we were looking at the old photos of the Niagara Falls, and honestly it reminded me of this today. For some reason I looked at this and I saw that old power plant, and there was a big elevator shaft and we could see all the water that had run down. Now this makes sense. You don't see these stain marks running down on the right side here. No, you see them right here, running down into what we would be told is a little Indian village. But actually, if you see this watermark, it runs right into the Indian village. And the Indians would have known this. They wouldn't have built under a spillway unless this was a power plant. And this was purposefully a spillway. And they were utilizing the power from the falls. And let me just show you as a comparison the old Niagara power plant. So here we go. We can see the elevator shaft and a bunch of elevator shafts. And in this photo, it's already been partially destroyed. Here again, a different angle. And here we go. And this is a very old, rare photo of the Niagara Falls. All these buildings up here would be destroyed, and most all of this. And here it shows how industry was simply using this water. Not just one big hydroelectric project and one big turbine, but clearly several. Clearly all these buildings were independently using the power of this water. And to the new power structure, this would be unacceptable. Eventually they would blow a lot of this up. And again, watch my old video on that for more detail. And they would just create one big set of turbines that would be powering the plant and fed throughout the city, charging for this resource. And here again. And we have the same stuff in Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, all over. Utah. Did I say that? This is nothing unusual. And yet when we look at something like this, it might make more sense as to what we're actually seeing. And even the Roman vault. The Roman vault. Now, anywhere else in the world, such things become Roman. All ruins become Roman. Look at this massive monstrosity. I mean, the Roman that we are sold in his little skirt and sandals, and then ruins like this. And it made me think that all these ruins were like water related as well. All of them. This is clearly a massive, massive high-tech water system. And this is the archaeological excavation street view of ancient Roman ruins with vaults and pathways surrounded by a brick wall, according to the caption underneath here. Let's have a little visit. And the massiveness of all of this is beyond comprehension. And even these old bricks are a different style, very long and flat. And again, most of this is buried. Just buried. They're building roads and new buildings and everything on top of the old world. I could sit and stare at this picture for an hour. It takes my breath away. It's not even a good resolution, it doesn't matter. This pile of bricks, so thick, so beyond anything that is done today. And if I'm to propose anything in this video, it's that these ruins are high-tech feats of engineering. Even the shitty ones in the Southwest. Growing up in Arizona, it just made no sense. I would look at these structures and say, what were they doing? And we were told that these were kivas and sacred ceremonial affairs. But really this looks like old water technology. Again, like we saw here in the Niagara Falls. And same here at Chaco Canyon in New Mexico. Were these just primitive people? I don't think so. And in fact, it is so advanced that it could not be destroyed or covered up. And I'm sure they tried. And this is pretty mind-blowing. Here's something in Colorado. And usually in the West, if they can't attribute it to Native American ruins, they attribute it to mining. Here we would be told these are lime kilns. No doubt, just like the lime kilns that I visited in Salt Lake City that have almost been completely forgotten about, sold off as private land for wealthy residents. This is some of the best preservation that I've seen using this cream brick. And mind you, there's no soot, at least in this one. And the whole realm is so much more interesting than we were ever led to believe. Here's some more ruins in Colorado at Chimney Rock. And this is so advanced. And I've tried to build rock walls before, many times in my life. Stacking rocks. And I'm sure many of you have too. And you would understand how perfect this is. Here are the Walker Mountain Castle ruins in Morrison, Colorado. Now here we go. Now this is what I'm talking about. Here we go. So this is what they show you, is this crusty, primitive stuff. And every now and then we see a perfect pocket of preservation like this. Look at this chimney. Look at the flares on here. This is super high tech. This is what I've been waiting for in Colorado. So here, if there wasn't this beautiful preservation, we would be told this was Native American ruins. But I'm very curious to what they'll tell us about the narrative on this one, with this preserved, beautiful brick on the inside. Here we can see arches on the left side, even another one down here, looking again like the Roman ruins. As we see here, arches in all directions, making no sense, just over the top, unless these were utilities. And now it would make sense why you would block up one section. You want the water to flow in a different direction, leaving little ports for a pressure relief in the system. Now this is a weird picture in Colorado. I have never seen something like this. Not in Arizona, not anywhere in the Southwest. This is a trip, and I've been waiting to see a photo like this. I'm getting sidetracked, but it's okay. These little huts on these wooden foundations, I believe, were built by native people. Or maybe the Park Service, as I've stated before. They may actually be a cover-up, blocking entrances into this melted building. This may have revealed something similar to Petra or Cappadocia in Turkey, and it has been blocked up. If we look back here in the left-hand corner, we can see entrances into this rock, and these little walls have been built over the top of them up here in this corner, and yet having a Petra-esque feeling in much worse condition. But again, we can see that there's access to the inside of this, and I believe that all of this is a cover-up. Look at this. Who would build this worthless little hut leaning here? No, this is actually a cover-up, and the real gold is inside here. And when we look carefully, we can actually see the massive blocks. Let's look over here to the right. Baalbekian style blocks leaning on their sides, stacked on top of one another, even over here. And then this crap. Down here, in the bottom left-hand corner, we see blocks in ruins. Old, giant blocks. Again, Baalbekian style. And I believe all this crap is a cover-up. And like I said, I've never seen something like this. What I would deem a bad idea. And nobody would be so foolish to think this was a good idea, unless it had another purpose. And again, they pull our heartstrings with these stories, and they keep us out of these areas. They keep us from exploring them with these stories of sacred areas. And I've told you before, I've based my life on Native American philosophy and ways of living, as much as I could, fusing them with modern technologies, such as solar power and smart tech, whatever is available to me. But I think we have to be careful when reading these explanations that were given to everything. And now something like this at Mesa Verde, this seems like really good quality. And again, something that reminded me of the old Niagara power plant here, especially when we see the staining and we see the water flowing right into the structures, like this. And here they tell us that this is in Mesa Verde, the Bandiagara escarpment. Similar to the ancient cave dwellings you'd find in Mali, West Africa, Colorado has its own preserved villages made of sandstone in the sheltered alcoves of cliffs. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, of course. So good. Good to know this is Mesa Verde. And I'd like to go here and poke around in places that are probably off limits. But back to my famous Walker Mountain Castle ruins in Morrison, Colorado. I can't find much on it. That's what led me to this place. Walker Ruins. A 5.5 mile loop trail near Indian Hills, Colorado. Generally considered a moderately challenging route. It takes an average of 2 hours to complete. So there we go. These ruins are 2 hours out of the way in a remote area. Dogs are welcome. Excellent. And how the hell are they building things like this in the early 1900s? And they don't know. Somebody's got a story for us. Maybe Sarah here. She says the Walker Mansion was a large stone home that was built in 1909. It was owned by businessman John Walker. He was a millionaire, working in agriculture, real estates, and was an owner of Cosmopolitan magazine. He also owned the land which is now Mount Falcon Park, a large park just outside of Denver. And here Sarah has shown us some nice pictures. So here we are looking at the city of Denver in 1909. In addition, the building itself was one of a kind. It was built mainly from stone. Unfortunately, this home was built right at the peak of a large hill, leading to its destruction. In 1918, it was struck by lightning and burnt down, leading to the ruins of what we see today. And that's it. That's it, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Struck by lightning, and no mention of this brick telling us it was stone. Well, why don't we just try to burn down the rest of it? We don't have to wait for lightning. We could just start a little campfire right up to the edge of it. Of course, we know this is absolutely ridiculous. You could never burn this. And what did it look like in its glory? The famous Walker ruins. So famous, I never heard of them. So I hope to go out here very soon. And in fact, I'm very excited to explore the ruins of Colorado. I think I'm just going to leave it there for now. I thank you for joining me today. I'm going to pop in for a bonus. I love you all, and God bless. So here for a bonus, I just wanted to talk about all the things that I didn't talk about. All the little notes in front of me. How annoying my microphone is. Scratch that. I'm just gonna have to share all these things later. I don't think I can talk about any of it. It's all fascinating. I can't believe I didn't talk about any of it. I recently saw something about boron, the mineral. Sodium borate, or borax, can be used as a power source. 1 tablespoon can power a house for a year. There was another place called French Lick in Indiana that I was going to look at and show you. Somebody sent me some great pics of the excavation going on at the Salt Lake City Temple, showing columns buried under the temple. Something fascinating, a secret hidden thing in the dollar bill that I wanted to share with you. I'll have to save that for another video. A bunch of new finds on the Ritz-Carlton in California and the ruins revealed on the coastline. And finally, I was going to touch on Tatarstan, the country, today. But I think this video has gone on way too long. I'll see you next week.